Hello and welcome to BROADish. I'm Felicia Madison with my co-host Hollie Harper and Jocelyn Chia. And joining us today is Michael Harrison. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Thanks.
So we like to get right into our topics here on BROADish, so we're going to get started. Nikole Hannah-Jones, Chapel of Doom, she was overlooked for tenure at UNC Chapel Hill and got it eventually after controversy and decided to turn it down and is going to Howard University. I mean, WTF, right?
What's a controversy? I actually don't know the story.
She was a professor, I guess it was in the communications department. She's a journalist, and she was up for tenure, and she was expecting to get it, and it just never happened. It kept getting postponed and postponed, and then eventually a huge controversy brewed around it, and then they all decided, oh, okay, we're going to give her tenure. And when she got it, she was so upset about why it took them so long that she turned it down and now is going to Howard University is basically the story.
And the controversy is that she blamed it on racism and sexism.
I thought the controversy was the fact that this woman had a whole board, all these professors, they spent like 800 hours or something, and she was unanimously voted in for tenure. She won a Pulitzer Prize, for God's sakes. And then this guy on the board, one of these trustees of UNC Chapel Hill, who's a straight up Trump supporter and a racist, turned around and said, no, not her. So it was definitely racism. It was not like she said, or it was like, and he had no reason other than, I just don't think she's good for the university.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Meanwhile, she was unanimously voted in by everybody over months and months and months of deliberations, like unanimous. The woman has a Pulitzer Prize. And so they were like, no, we're not giving it to you. And then she was like, first she was like, okay, fine, this is garbage, it's racist. But then she was like, no, F y'all, I'm taking y'all to court. You have until this date to come up out your pocket and offer me. And they hemmed and hawed. And then finally they were like, okay, fine, we want you. And then she's like, you know what, I'm going where the love is. I'm going to Howard University, F y'all.
I wonder how much money that one man donates to the school.
How can one man have so much power?
Well, we know how one man can have so much power.
Wow. Did he announce what his choice was going to be? Or did he just blanket say he didn't want her, period? Like he didn't even offer a solution?
No, he just said, well, we're going to offer her some other kind of thing. But it wasn't tenure. And people who have far less than her were given tenure much easier. The whole, the collective of people that voted her in were like, what are you talking about? We want her. And then people who were, there were other Black professors who were like, well, I'm not taking tenure. I'm not getting this because it got really big. It got crazy. And people stood by her. So she was like, you know what? I'm going to join Ta-Nehisi Coates at Howard University. I'm going where the love is served.
Oh, man, that's amazing, actually. This almost sounds like it's going to be a movie one day. You know what I mean? Like everyone stood up.
Yeah, for sure.
It does sound like it sounds like one of those movies. There's like a big song in the end.
It is. Yeah, this could be a musical. This definitely could be a musical. But I'm very impressed by this.
Michael sounds like he wants to do another short about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm already like, oh, can I write this? It's like, I want it. I love it because it sort of has like a happy ending to it. I sort of want her to work at this other school too now. And good on that school for offering her a job so quick and trying to remedy this themselves because it's like a great opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being in another school and seeing a person that qualified and being able to get them? Like,
yeah.
First off, that's an amazing opportunity on behalf of Dean, you said? Howard Dean? Was that it?
Howard University.
Howard University, sorry.
Howard University.
Well, what just kills me about the whole thing was the guy's reason for she's not good for university is that they're just pissed off about the 1619 project. And if you know anything about the 1619 project, is the whole thing is that the success and the wealth and the dominance of America was really off the backs of free Black labor with cotton and sugar and, you know what I mean? So, and that's not a lie. And so she framed the 1619 project around the success of America being from Black labor and Black excellence and Black work. And so people don't like that. Racist people don't like that. You know what I mean? That goes against their manifest destiny. It goes against everything they, America is king. It goes against that. So they tried to like come at her, and she had support.
Who is this guy, by the way, who didn't want her?
Who is this guy?
Yeah, do you know who this guy is?
Yeah, I do know.
What's his background?
I learned his name and then I forgot it. I just know he's a huge, because I was like, fuck him. But he's a huge Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Raises crazy money for Trump.
I suppose I should discuss this with you guys. I went on a date, three dates actually with this guy. He's perfect in every way. CEO, good looking, Korean. Oh my God. You know how I'm into these Korean guys after watching these drama serials. But he voted for Trump. Oh shit.
I mean, I
don't know if I just keep seeing him again.
I mean, I wouldn't judge people based off that. I'm a left winger in a right wing family, and I love my family. And I know that they mean well, even though maybe they don't.
But like that's your blood. That's your blood.
All he's talking about is absolutely no. That's like that's just way too out there. Like that. He's really showing his morals and principles by taking such a stand against someone who's so qualified. And even going against a vote. Geez, that is exactly Trumpish. You know what I mean? Like that's
right.
That's directly from the vote.
Well, the thing is, like you have family, like you can't choose your family. Like your family is your family. I have family that's homophobic. I hope they change. I would love for them to change, but I don't choose them. But if I'm choosing people to be around, I'm not choosing racist, homophobic, or misogynistic people. It's choice versus no choice. Also, family, you could just see them at a holiday and be like, "What's up?" and we're out of here.
That's fair.
Right.
You know what? I guess I should also paraphrase this. It is slightly different because I'm Canadian. So Canadian right is a lot more sane than American right,
Oh, that's interesting. The Canadian right is less extreme than American right.
Oh, far less extreme. We're not a very religious country. Wow. So we don't let those type of politics contribute to either side, right? So that makes the world a difference.
Why are you guys less religious than America?
Yeah, we never took to it. Honestly, like I felt like people. I mean, we did, but it's always been like a private, personal thing, right? It's like always been self-reflection, and that's how it is. So yeah, no politician ever is supposed to talk about what they believe or their thoughts on that.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah, it's supposed to be separated.
Whereas here is a voting.
I honestly feel like this is most countries.
Supposed to be separated here too, but it's
not. Actually an anomaly, where you have like people. Yeah, you have religious lobbyists who are basically helping dictate policy.
And I can't because it's so weaponized and it has so little to do with being good to your fellow man and woman. Like it has almost nothing to do with that anymore.
Have you seen that we're burning churches? Like we were burning churches all last week. It was intense, right? Because Catholic Church is responsible for indigenous genocide in Canada. And we just discovered it. Well, that was a big thing in Canada last week.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're finding hundreds of bodies of Native American children. That's just basically ethnic cleansing that Canada did, but America did it too. It's absolutely disgusting.
But it was actually through the religious schools. And it's all babies and kids. And it was all like in the 70s.
Yeah, in the name of save the child, kill the Indian. Separate them,
destroy their culture. Yeah, like even then, the ones that survived are only supposed to know English. Like the Catholic Church is doing a number on them. So it was like,
it's ethnic cleansing.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on. But before we do, Hollie, I have a new segment for your show. It's called Invite Your Racist, Homophobic Friend to Dinner.
Dinner be like it'd be like 8 goddamn minutes outside with a hot dog. And then you could say vamonos on that.
That would be a very interesting dinner, inviting your relatives. Okay, great. We're going to move on to Free B. Okay, so Bill Cosby's free, but Britney Spears is not. Let's chop this one up. Why is that happening?
Well, Bill Cosby got off on a procedure.
Yeah. He got off on a technicality.
He was promised technicality,
and it's not really it's a technicality.
No, he was. And the thing was that when he copped to what he did back in 2005, it was under the guise that he wouldn't be prosecuted for it.
Correct.
So he basically was like, I did this and blah, blah, blah. So then what happened was in 2015 through 2018, he basically was like, oh no, I never did anything. And people were like, you said in court that you did. So then they sent him to jail on that. I mean, he never should have got that deal in the first place, but
he did. So that was legal. So I think they were right to free him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come up with a deal, if you plea bargain and you have a deal, I mean, if you can't trust the government to keep their deals, I mean, who can you trust?
Well, the thing is, what he got is basically,
I'm sure it's a very difficult decision.
What he got basically is what police officers get all around the country, is qualified immunity. So kind of hits different. Kind of hits different when it hits close to home. He basically got what cops get.
I mean, technically, where do you think his standing of life or his quality of life is going to be moving forward, though? You know, like we've pretty much tarnished his name.
Isn't he going on tour?
Yeah,
did you read that he was going on tour?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
He's got a tour this quick.
Being sponsored by Quaaludes.
Yeah.
Well, to me, you know, one of my responses to this is the fact that I am never surprised when the rapists of Black women go free. Never. Andrea Constand is a Black woman. She's biracial, but she's a woman of color. I'm never surprised when the rapists of Black women go free. So the fact that he was set free on some technicality doesn't surprise me at all.
Man,
Black and Native women get the least justice when it comes to sex crimes.
You know what was sort of funny about this whole thing? Like when Hannibal Buress talked about it, like on his special, I knew what he was talking about. Because when I was like 12, a Canadian paper talked about how Bill Cosby did it to a Canadian woman, and they settled out of court. And I didn't know what that meant, but that was news in Canada back when I was like 12, 13, right? So when Hannibal Buress brought that up, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like I remember he did one of these in Canada, you know? So it was very fascinating when this all came out that I was like, so surprised that you're right. Like this was even written in paper once.
Yeah.
And we come from a time, like I came from a time when I was younger where that was just ignored because he was a celebrity.
Yeah.
So the power of this. And obviously you're right. Whatever strings you could push back then, because you have sort of the celebrity, the money, the dominance, I assume all those little deals he had off to the side, was to save him. I guess in this case,
that was the same thing that happened with Jeffrey Epstein. Also, he had the same exact deal, and he was retried again. And it was, you know, they felt like they didn't have enough evidence at the time, and they were actually trying to help the victim by at least allowing them to get money in a civil trial. So he agreed for immunity and she got $3 million and she took it, and she agreed to it also, by the way. It wasn't like he just got it. I think they both agreed to it. And the same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. He went to prison for a few years and was granted immunity for this. And then they went back and retried him on what he was granted immunity for. I mean, it's like, horrible.
You look at everything from, Woody Allen to Jeffrey Epstein to Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby. This has been going on forever. I mean, and it's a rape culture where powerful people are allowed to get away with it. I mean, when you take a look at the fact that like everyone talks about Bill Cosby, but it's like, why do you think people then want their daughters to go into any kind of entertainment business? Because they know how the business gets down. So I'm not surprised by this at all.
Are you suggesting though, like the entertainment business can bring out the worst in people? Like that he gets so much power that he felt he could do things like this?
I think when you have power like this, when you have power like that and you're coming into hordes of young women, and like when you see like in music, we see in acting. Yeah, I'll never forget, I had a friend, she was a producer and she used to produce music artists, produce her albums. And she quit and she moved on to another field because she couldn't even get, like she would try to get her artists time in the booth, just time, recording time. And, they would be like, not unless you blow me. And she'd be like, I'm a producer. I'm not even the singer. You know what I mean? They'd be like, no. So she couldn't even get ahead in the same way. And
no pun intended.
But
he could get some head. She could. But yeah.
Even then, I don't understand. I view Cosby slightly different than that, only because first off, he wasn't a bad-looking guy when he was young. And he's been doing this for a long time. And yet he still drugged women when I'm sure women were capable of, consenting with him. Like it's sort of a different type of maniac to think of a human that, that makes that choice. You didn't need to.
He wanted what he couldn't have. That was the problem.
So
I know. Well, people always think that like a rapist is like ugly. I mean, like look at Ted Bundy. I mean, it's funny. I never thought Ted Bundy was as cute as people thought he was. I thought he was cute for his area code. I thought he was cute for his zip code.
I viewed him more as a killer. That was more of the killing side of what Ted Bundy was. All right, he's
Michael Harrison looks a little bit like Ted Bundy.
Oh,
no,
geez.
Michael
early in the podcast.
Much better looking than Ted Bundy. Much better looking than Ted Bundy. But yeah, like it's just that.
Is that a compliment?
Like you're a real killer, Michael.
Apparently,
you're good looking for your area code, Michael Harrison.
Hilarious.
I think people got confused with Bill Cosby with his character on the Cosby Show. He's not a doctor. Do you know what I mean? He can go to med school. Like he's a guy. He's a comedian who made it young in his early 20s.
Yeah,
he made it at a really young age, and he skated on that, and then had a whole lot of critical shit to say about Black people.
Yep.
Really portrayed us quite horribly. So like fuck him. Like fuck Bill Cosby.
Well, that's what he wants, Holly.
Except I don't do
Quaaludes is dropping these.
I don't do Quaaludes. So, yeah.
Okay, well, what about Brittany? What about the fact that Bill's free and Brittany? I mean, all her
crazy.
Lawyer,
Really
everyone's
sad.
like dropping like flies, except for her dad. Everyone's like leaving her. Like, oh, I didn't know. I'm not going to be a part of this. Her attorney just left. The person running, the judge, I think, left.
Wow.
I think there's going to be like a whole. I feel so bad for her. I mean, the poor girl couldn't date. She was drugged. She couldn't have kids. She's making millions and millions of dollars, and I mean, she has problems, obviously. But gosh, I can't believe she can't. I read somewhere that it's almost impossible to get out of a conservatorship. Like almost, it's usually because it's not usually given to someone like her. It's usually given to people that are mentally disabled, like really mentally disabled. And so once it's put into place, it's very hard to reverse.
Wow.
She seems
but it's so clear that she is functioning enough. She's functioning enough to work every day. How can she need a conservatorship at this age and mental capacity? That just seems so wrong.
I know people are like, maybe she shaved her head. Bitch, I shaved my head last year. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
She hit somebody with an umbrella. I have punched actual people. Like, big deal. I just felt like, why is she judged like this? I mean,
Holly, this is I absolutely agree so much with you. Like, what you just said, I had a bit about that like 6-7 years ago. When I was a comedian, when she did the whole shave of the hair and ran out, and I was like, "Oh, that's called being in your 20s."
Word.
What are you
Even
on?
Yeah, much older.
Right. So seeing like black comics have to try to make fun of disadvantage because they can't think of good material has always been like one of the things. It is very impressive, at least, to see TMZ apologizing, to see all these celebrities who made fun of her at a time when she was vulnerable or she wanted to discover herself. And how through our prisms we try to judge that. Do you find anything about like the humanity first off of this situation?
Well, the fact that you're right, we do dissect women to the point where it's absolutely insane. Like it's ridiculous. And the fact that she was a young girl. Paris was a young girl. There were so many women who were in the 90s and in the early aughts. What the fuck are we calling that decade? The thousands, whatever. That like really got raped over the coals for just normal shit. You mean like to me, like you may look back and be like, oh my God, Paris did a sex tape. She did a tape and this asshole sold it. What do you want? Like, what do you want? Okay, she has sex. Big deal. Wow.
Exactly. And who's it hurt? It's all her doing it. Right?
I know.
She's not trying to hurt anyone. Right. The intentions are never bad, but we dissect it so villainously,
Yeah. Well, I think
if anything, it is the guy who should have been villainized because he let it out when it was like a private sex tape. But she was not villainized for it.
You're right. That's the bigger point, actually, is that she didn't want that out.
That is the bigger point.
And
she didn't want that out.
Brittany, she got her kids taken away from her. You remember when Michael Jackson held his baby over the balcony?
Yes.
He didn't get his kids taken away from him.
Remember when Alec Baldwin called Ireland a little pig? Remember that?
That would never happen to a man. A man would never be put under conservatorship like this and treated this way.
I agree. I don't see men. And it's so funny. I was thinking about that because just going back to the shave your head, I noticed how in movies, whenever you see like a woman, something's wrong with her, she's lost her mind, she shaves her head. And it's like, can we stop with that? A lot of women just shave their head. Yeah. And it's not because something went wrong. They just want to shave their head. It's not
okay, Hollie, if I shave my head, you should get a conservatorship for me.
Felicia loves her hair.
I'm all about the hair.
When I shave my head,
I panic when I cut off 3 inches. I go into depression.
Wow. When I shaved my head last September, I remember thinking to myself, like, damn, you look good. Like, I remember thinking, like, you look really fucking good. Like, I was really impressed with my head. And there were people who were like, are you okay? And I'm like, bitch, are you okay? Like, you don't even work out, but you asking me if I'm okay. I should be asking you if you're okay. But like the idea of a woman
Sinead O'Connor was praised for it, right? Wasn't Sinead O'Connor actually looked up to for shaving her head? So I guess white women can. No, Brittany's white too.
That didn't work out so well for her though, Sinead.
Well, she ripped up the picture of the Pope.
Really?
That did her in on SNL when she ripped it. Remember that?
Yeah, that's what did her in.
But how about but what's our responsibility then in creating this conservatorship? Because you got to remember, the media also framed her in a way that she was crazy, and not only that, but we all added to it. Not us, but comedians, talk shows,
late night jokes about Brittany, on and on.
Yeah, but like stuff where it's like that's what I mean. Like, I didn't ever see it this way, and I'm always like stunned when people are made fun of for actions that I'm like, oh God, if I ever become a celebrity, I'm screwed. I'm screwed. You know, you can look at my past.
What have you done, Michael? Did you shake balls?
Like, yeah, exactly. Can you imagine?
Celebrities gone wild. I mean, I think every celebrity would be under a conservatorship if that was the case.
Right? Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure necessarily if it's a gender issue, as it's very much possibly an opportunistic issue from her father. Like, I'm actually, first off, worried where, like, for a father to do this and step in when he should know better. She seems fine, you know, like watching how she talks with her boyfriend, seeing, you know, the pictures and what she's putting up. I'm sort of a judge of his character during this whole thing.
Well, I personally would like to see her get out of it, because she's obviously not creating and performing, and I think that's a shame for the world, because she has a huge talent. So I hope she can overcome this.
She is performing in Vegas.
She stopped. No, she stopped. She refuses to perform or create until this conservatorship is finished. She hasn't done anything in years.
He's made so much money off of her.
Yeah. And she stopped.
It's really his golden goose.
Okay, talking about disasters, guys, let's move on to New York. Declared a disaster again. Crime has increased in New York, and he said people are not coming back to New York until the crime goes down. We discussed a little bit about
this. It's almost like he's doing anything he can to divert attention from his sexual harassment lawsuits. Do anything. I mean, now that COVID's over, he's like, all right, we have a new disaster. Stop focusing on me. Let's focus on this other disaster.
Well, I mean, gun control is insane. I mean, the fact when we get guns and gun reform under control, you'll see a real dip in gun violence. But until that happens, you're not going to see it.
It's funny being a Canadian with no guns, whatever, growing up. New York was the one place I thought was really good for it, because New York City had probably the strongest in the country for gun control.
It's funny, Michael, how you have no religion and no guns. Correlation?
Yeah.
But it's like people just go over to New Jersey or they go down to Maryland and they get guns. You know what I mean? It's like, when you divest from communities, when you have garbage school systems, when you have no libraries, when you close down hospitals, when you have no programs, and then you have mass incarceration, locking up 2-3 generations of men, what do you think you're going to get? Like, what do you think you're going to get?
Well, I think they're blaming it a little bit on COVID, that people are now out. They've been cooped up for a year and a half, and people are out and about and going a little hog wild.
I get out COVID and I go to the bar. They get out COVID, they go shoot a guy.
They said a lot of people are on parole. That's also caused an issue. But crime is up. And, you know, I commend him trying to do something about it and something to do about gun control. I think this whole concept of the right to bear arms is just so freaking ludicrous.
Outdated.
I mean, outdated. People argue. I mean, really? Like, really?
The thing is, if you really want to stop gun violence, you'll really take a look at communities and why people resort to guns in the first place. You know what I mean? So when you really look at it, they were talking about how, I don't know what the population is of New York in terms of Black people, Black and Latinos, but 77% of people I was reading about affected by gun violence this past year in New York have been Black and Latino. Yeah. So
how about
you're looking at like, so what is bringing this gun violence? What is it? Because just saying, well, you know, we need more police. That's bullshit, because police don't prevent crime. They show up after. Like, they don't prevent any kind of crime. Yeah.
Can I suggest one thing with that point? I always found it insane that you guys, or most states, actually allow 18-year-olds to own guns, right? Because even when I thought about like me as like an 18 to 22-year-old, the brains aren't done in a human being. So biologically, we're not even. The brains aren't done. Well, we're not, right? What is it? It's like 25.
Yeah, they can't drink. They can't drink, but they could shoot.
Right? Yeah. When I think of how emotional maybe I was, or how sometimes I was a little bit more angry, or all those moments, it's like I didn't need a gun at that age. Why?
Most gun violence is not committed by legal guns. It's committed by people with illegal guns.
Of course.
Well, there are a lot of gangs. I think that's where it's gang violence, which I don't know where that problem comes from and how
it comes from locking up 2-3 generations of fathers. That's where it comes from. Because you have young people that need a family, that seek out some kind of father figure, they're going to turn to the wrong people. That's one of the reasons why mass incarceration destroys Black communities.
Right. But the amount of like youth using guns, like people under 25, is like ridiculous. That's what I mean. It's like the idea that the brain isn't fully finished. We're not in function of our hormones or control.
But sure, you can have a gun. Yeah, that's a bad idea.
That's what I mean, right? So it's like, why would you even allow people of that age to do it? You know, like I don't even understand that logic, you know, because 18 to me is even way too young for a person to believe they're responsible, you know, to not get heated and do that, specifically when you look at the numbers.
I think the solution is to send Bill Cosby into these communities and hand out Quaaludes.
Hilarious.
Take Quaaludes, not guns.
Quaaludes, not guns. Felicia's really plugging the Quaaludes. You're gonna get a sponsorship from Quaaludes after this episode.
Yeah.
No kidding. Bill Cosby's gonna find this episode because Quaaludes has said so much. It's gonna pop up in his feed.
He's gonna Google Quaaludes and he's gonna see.
Yeah, when he Googles Quaaludes, this episode's gonna come up. He's gonna be like, I like this Felicia girl.
Just what I need, Quaaludes. Can I start talking about cocaine a little bit? Maybe that will help.
Yeah, maybe Bill Cosby will have you open for him after he sees his episode on his tour.
Get with him or Harvey Weinstein.
Well, I don't think we're going to solve any problems on BROADish, guys. We need to have a social
unfortunately.
We've tried.
We need
tried
guns.
to solve a lot of the world problems, and it just hasn't happened. I don't know about you guys, but I would like one of the three of us, no offense, Michael, to replace Meghan McCain on The View.
Nice. Okay.
Let's start a campaign.
That's your whole impetus in starting this show, right?
Yeah, Felicia, Hollie, or Jocelyn for The View. Let's see which one of us wins.
Yeah, their eyes got so tired of Meghan with her little cards and her little talking points. Like, I would watch The View when they would be like talking, and all of a sudden she'd be like, "Futz, and I'm like, so your husband prepared talking points for you? That's lovely." Like, how about you just talk to the ladies, like just some conversation? What's crazy though is that Black Twitter was talking about like, oh my God, so is Candace Owens going to replace her? Is Tommy Lauren going to replace her? Like, you may get somebody way worse. You know what I mean? So it's for ratings. Is one thing. Meghan was good for ratings. Yeah. Can't stand her ass, but she was good for ratings.
I mean, don't you want like variety of opinions? Isn't like the more diverse, because you want to represent America technically on like maybe a show like that. Right. So I do sort of, to a degree, like people I don't like, only so the people I like can tell them their opinion.
I like a variety of opinion as long as people agree with me. Okay, guys, this was a great episode. We chopped it up. We dished it out. I'm Felicia Madison.
I'm Hollie Harper.
I'm new at this.
Jocelyn Chia.
Michael Harrison.
Michael Harrison, our special guest. Michael, why don't you tell us a little about your new film that's going to be in the film festival?
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I got a new short called Where's My White Privilege? It's about a white guy who loses his white privilege for a day and complains about it to his black girlfriend. I know. I'm very excited about it. It's being put through the film fest. It'll be at the Hip Hop Film Fest next month. And yeah, both me and my lead, Dara Jemmett, who's amazing, you guys should consider having. And she could also, you know, she won Best Actress in a Comedy from the New York Best Actor Award. Yeah, I know, and I'm very, very excited for it. So, if you guys want, please join my group or go on my YouTube, Michael Harrison Comedian, and check out the trailer and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for joining us. And this was BROADish.
Thanks for joining us.